This is Ukradowski. We are Change.org, joined with Tim Perchette, the Liberty Advisor. And in this video, we are going to be talking about the food supply chain, which last week we talked about the potential of it breaking. And now it looks like that reality is becoming more possible, as we have another article here by Bloomberg that says Americans on cusp of meat shortage with food chain breaking down. And of course, one of the biggest companies in the United States that is a part of the supply chain, Tyson's Food, is now coming out, and its chairman is saying that the supply chain is in fact breaking. And the company even put out a full-page advertisement in the New York Times, in the Washington Post, and the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, warning that, of course, this will have huge ramifications and effects not only on the farmers that are going to be left without any kind of work or livestock to sell, but also particularly on the consumer, as of course there is a breakdown, not only because of the entire crazy situation that we're dealing with and many factories being shut down because workers are getting sick, but also because of poor mismanagement. Many restaurants, many schools, many other institutions that are usually open and dependent on these supply chains, well, they're just not open. They're in lockdown. So, of course, what do you do with a lot of the food that was supposed to go out there? Well, now, sadly, there's even horrible, horrible images of little piglets just being euthanized. This is, the eugenics of our food supply being seen right in front of us because no one is buying up any of this important produce. Meanwhile, the need is still there. Americans didn't decide all to go on a diet. Americans are still going to be consuming the same, if not more, because of the stress eating, because of the lockdown that's happening now, food than before. So if there's not food coming in, what's going to happen? Well, that's what everyone's kind of warning about. There's also another issue with chicken, as it's projected that potentially 2 million chickens could be euthanized, could be killed, and of course just thrown away. And as piglets are aborted, chickens are gassed. This is something that should be worrying for everyone, and not just for the meat consumers, but also for the vegans out there and vegetarians, as of course it's not only the meat market that's affected, it's also produce, with fruits and vegetables also being thrown out in large numbers, including to the number of what some people estimate already $5 billion in losses. There's an estimate, $5 billion of losses when it comes to fruits and vegetables being thrown out. And other estimates predict a $1 billion loss per week as this continues. I personally, Tim, I don't know about you in your area, but I was in New Jersey yesterday, and I was in the large supermarket, and already the shelves were very bare, to say the least. It was a chaotic rush situation, a very stressful situation, and it definitely wasn't a reassuring one, as of course there were lines, 6 feet apart, of course, lines all the way out of this supermarket that I was trying to get some just supplies out of. So that situation, that definitely doesn't paint a rosy picture there. How are things in your neck of the woods there?
Well, luckily, I stocked up a lot of stuff before all this, so I think I've been to the grocery store maybe once for like 5 seconds, so it hasn't affected me a ton. But maybe what they actually need is, if we go to an article over here from CNN, is Japanese mayor says men should grocery shop during pandemic as women take a longer time. So this is
how dare you sexist son of a, get the social justice warrior police, just get him. Just just ban him on Twitter immediately. Put him in the Twitter gulag. And by the way, yes, of course, I have my supplies too. I had to pick up equipment, gear, because you can't get anything shipped in. And while I was there, I was like, I might as well just pick up some groceries. So chaotic, maddening situation, but also a lot of things on the shelves that are usually there weren't there yesterday. Sorry, go ahead, Tim.
No, I was just obviously saying that, in jest, but that was actually a real thing that a mayor in Japan said, so I just thought that was funny. Now, another thing I want to do is, there was Anthony Blanchard sent this in our Discord group, was a TikTok video of a farmer, actually not really sure where the farmer was, but it was obviously in America. But if we go ahead and take a look at this over here.
Ooh, that's bright. I wanted to show you one of the dump piles. And a lot of people, again, are asking, well, why are you dumping? Why are you dumping? Why are you not donating? The supply chain is broken, guys. Nobody wants those onions. I can give them away for a penny a pound, and no one will take them. That's how much extra there is in the supply chain today. When you close every single restaurant, when you close all the restaurants, you change the whole supply chain. That road, that freeway with the bridge that goes over the river, that bridge is out. If the bridge is out, you can't get the stuff from the farm to the city. And that's essentially what's going on right now. We can have all the onions that anybody needs. But if we can't get under the city, we still have to throw them away. That's the situation. And that's why you're seeing this. Oof, that's bright.
Yeah.
Wanted to
what
show
we're
you
seeing there, I'm trying to actually turn this off in the background, is, there's just so many unintended consequences with that. Obviously the powers that be are not thinking of when they go ahead and do this stuff. And so it also shows, how precarious this situation is. I mean, it also is very reminiscent of what went on in the oil markets, where all of a sudden, if no one can, if we're already at max refinery, if we're at max storage capacity and there's no one to take it, then all of a sudden we saw what was incredible, and that the prices actually went negative. Here, I mean, it's a Shay Farm Kid in TikTok is saying that, hey, if we're trying to give these away for a penny a pound, and yet we can't even give them away for a penny, Luke.
This is what happens when you have central planners, central controllers, big government making these huge moves. We saw very similar things in China with Mao Zedong's efforts to get rid of the sparrows, because he didn't like sparrows going after some of the pharma. The ramifications of that caused a massive famine that killed millions of people. Again, we have to avoid a lot of these situations, and it's devastating to see, especially the livestock, especially, the fresh fruit, all the energy that went into producing and making this food just being thrown out and wasted. I mean, there's people going hungry in the United States. There's people going very hungry all over the rest of the world. When you really do some traveling and when you really look at how other people live, when you really visit places and you see how the majority of the world lives, it absolutely shocks you. And we're living in a luxury, and that luxury is kind of breaking down a little bit. But that's why I wanted to bring up this next article and start this discussion, because there might be a crypto element that might help with this, as the World Economic Forum released a, quote, blockchain toolkit to fix the broken food supply chain. Now, I always believe that this, a lot of the problems could be solved with decentralization. We, of course, are always warning about cryptocurrencies being used, because it's a technology that could be used for good and bad. We've been warning you. I personally also been warning you about that technology being used for bad. But what do you make of this kind of latest announcement by the World Economic Forum, trying to, of course, put the food chain on the blockchain and to try to digitize it?
Well, I'm glad you did bring up that first point, that it can be used for bad, because we're always getting people down in the comments saying, oh, you guys don't understand the greater implications of this. And literally the very first time I ever made a episode devoted to Bitcoin was talking about the negative use cases that it could be used. And we've talked about the digital dollar and universal basic income and how we're going to tie this into social credit.
Yeah, when Bitcoin was first coming out, no one even knew what it really was. Me and Max Kaiser, I was asking Max Kaiser, who told me about cryptocurrencies, way before it was in the popular dialectic. I was like, is this the new world order currency? And of course, there's positive and negative effects to any technology. But this is a kind of interesting one that raises the question, where does this one side on? Because, again, we do have a problem. The blockchain technology is a very effective technology. Could it potentially help here? What do you think?
Well, actually, about a year ago, Walmart actually forced all of their food suppliers to go to the blockchain. It's something that not too many people are aware of. And I did have a family member who, actually, I've got two different family members. So one who is involved in the produce field, I guess you'd say, and he told me that yes, Walmart did contact them and said that they all had to go to the blockchain. Now, the reasoning behind this is, let's say you have a salmonella outbreak, down here in Tucson, or actually it's not Tucson. Southern Arizona is actually a hotbed for growing lettuce in America. I forgot the exact little town. Doesn't matter. Anyways, what is going on? So let's say you get a salmonella outbreak, and all of a sudden Walmart's like, oh crap, we've got to go throw away every single head of lettuce in America. Well, through the blockchain, you can actually much more efficiently pinpoint and say, okay, it actually came from this field. This field's trucks went over to these stores in these states, and then now we can then just get rid of those that produce, as opposed to having to throw away everything in the entire country. And it's not only just lettuce. I mean, it could be chickens, could be any sort of outbreak that's going on, because it would be almost impossible to track that down given the old world technologies. But given blockchain, you could do that much, much more efficiently. Now, I'm not really sure how it could help fix this situation. I'm sure that there are ways that it could help the situation. But in terms of other use cases for the blockchain, I mean, it's much, much more than people just, trying to, trade around fake money back and forth. And I wish that I understood these other use cases before,
Well, they're talking about the problems of paper bills and phone calls and documents, and they're saying put it all in the blockchain, let it all be done that way, just like kind of cryptocurrency works in a track, trace, and database society. Many people need to realize many cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin, there's a ledger, there's a record of everything that happens, of everything that transpires, of every little transaction that happens. It's all public, available for a lot of people to see. There's other privacy coins like Monero where it's very difficult to do that. But don't worry, Amazon is working on actually breaking encryption, on breaking a lot of hidden secret cryptocurrencies as well.
The NSA has been tracking it since 2011. So
the IRS is starting to pay more attention to it. People need to realize that, again, just like any technology, just like the internet, it can be used for amazing wealth of knowledge and information that you can't get anywhere else, or it could be used to promote consumerism and a bunch of people just like fapping and like promoting e-girls and destruction of our civilization with this kind of slave that is just programmed to consume as much crap as they can, as they're getting predictively programmed, as we know that there's elements of that in our online digital society that do that in a very effective way. But here, I would say, initially, I think this is a good thing. But again, good things, good intentions are
the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yeah, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I was going to make up my own Polish version of that. English is not my first language, just so people know. And I think really with this particular case, it can help, but there needs to be a way to decentralize it, and it not being in the control of one person. Because as we're learning also in the Steemit Hive community, it's a new kind of cryptocurrency. It could either be centralized and controlled or decentralized. And of course, humanity always progresses, always flourishes when there's decentralization. And humanity always stumbles, F's up, and has a huge potential of hurting other people when it's centralized. Centralization, again, always should be avoided at all costs. That's my particular case on it. Anything you agree or disagree with in this particular story, and anything else you want to say?
I'm just reading this real quickly right now, and it's saying that there's this whole pilot program, and actually one of these pilot companies in here is the Saudi Aramco, which would be the most valuable publicly traded company ever, is one of the 5 companies that's getting in on the supply chain blockchain. And lastly here, this toolkit provides a step-by-step process on how to assemble an ecosystem of participants that will all benefit from moving some process to a shared distributed ledger, and how to solve the technical and non-technical problems. Included in the 80 corporate participants is Saudi Aramco. And then you've also have big news because the Deloitte, the same Big Four accounting firm, who had previously published a report finding that 92% of blockchain projects were dormant or dead. So you do have to be careful with this stuff, because most of the blockchain projects are crap that's out there. I mean, that's just a fact. And so you need to be very, very careful. Do your own research. This is not financial advice. But lastly, the toolkit is designed to help executives and developers using any supply chain. Its targeting of the oil and especially the food industry is particularly pertinent. Yeah, lots of use cases. The stock chain, in my opinion, is probably going to be on blockchain very, very soon. Lots of good things, but it can be used for good. It can be used for evil. Everything is basically going digital already, and it's up to us to basically help steer it to the path of the good path. It's pretty much unavoidable that everything is going to be digital. That is not, we're not going to be able to stop that. It's just we need to then help direct it into the better choices that people have. But that's all I've got for today, Luke. I know we do have, we're going to have some stuff about Bill Gates. So we do see over here, Bill and Melinda Gates purchased $43 million luxury beach house in Del Mar, California, which appears that they must not be too worried about global warming going on. And boom, over here we've got...
And they also have a mega yacht that looks pretty crazy. We're going to tease that video because there's a lot to talk about Bill Gates specifically. And of course, people using this situation to, of course, benefit themselves as the richest people in the world are actually becoming a lot more richer. And of course, everyone's getting screwed over. And again, just like you said, I definitely agree with you. I was going to make that point too. Technology is unavoidable. The best thing we could do is try to push for its decentralization and not centralization. That's a very important caveat. Stay tuned for more here on Changes News. Next video coming up, very important one about Bill Gates. Stay tuned.